Any book series that is even mildly as successful nowadays is pretty much guaranteed a film based off it. However, so few of those movies are actually enjoyed by the book's original fans. Such a movie is, of course, Eragon, one of the most notoriously despised adaptations of all time for being just downright insulting to the source material. However, I've always maintained that a film adaptation is a film first, so I'm going to look at Eragon on its own. How does it fare as a kid-friendly fantasy epic? Let's put aside the book and focus on just the movie, Eragon. Zach, I'm in the middle of filming.
Filming what?
Eragon review.
Ah, Eragon? I have lots to say about that. I'll join you.
Yeah, that's okay. I mean, I've always wanted to try a two-person review here.
Okay, so when I was growing up, I was a pretty big fan of Eragon, and I still actually think it's a pretty decent book.
Okay, well, I was hoping to disregard the book entirely and look at how the film stands up on its own.
I'm sorry, Sean, I can't do that. I think an adaptation, it's very important for an adaptation to be loyal to its source material. And I think that we should be looking at that as the most important facet of it.
Wait, two people reviewing the same film with literally opposite approaches? This is gonna be wacky.
It's not going to be wacky.
So Eragon is about, well, obviously Eragon, who's a poor farm boy living with his uncle under the tyranny of the evil empire. One day he finds a dragon egg attaches to a dragon, and then his uncle is killed, his home is destroyed by the empire, and he runs off with a wise old mentor, Brahm, to find a group of rebels and eventually save a princess. Hey Zach, does that sound familiar to anything? Look, there's no way getting around it. Eragon rips off the plot of Star Wars. A lot, and it actually really bothers me. However, that's not the movie's fault necessarily. That one is on the book.
Well, I can't really argue that one, but I always thought Star Wars in a Fantasyland was kind of cool.
You mean a poor man's Star Wars and a poor man's Lord of the Rings?
I've never been one for the finer things in life.
What? So, do you want to talk about the character Eragon?
You mean Blandy McBland?
Which one? Yeah, the vast majority of the characters here are just terribly forgettable.
I mean, it's not like the book had super amazing characters either, but it was certainly better than that.
Like, yeah, Eragon, Arya, Murtagh, the three main ones, arguably, just leave no impression on you whatsoever. And all of the minor characters were on screen for, like, a few minutes tops, so I didn't even know who they even were, like their names or their positions or anything. But if there's one thing I give this movie in terms of characters, it did show a little bit of some character relationships. They showed Eragon with his uncle. They showed Eragon with his cousin. I'm not saying it all didn't feel like a Hallmark original movie, but at least they were trying.
Hey, and let's not forget about the ton of characters that were missing, but we'll get to that later.
Joy. Now, you could argue that the character cuts were just there to simplify, and, that's fine. It's a forgivable offense. But there is no excuse for just terrible characters overall. You only had a few to work with movie, and you couldn't even get that right.
However, I will give the movie a little bit of credit. It did 3 characters pretty decently.
That's true. I actually like the villain, Durza. He's intimidating and very powerful. The way he does magic by just speaking in this evil-sounding language was actually really cool. And maybe just because I have my standards are pretty low in this movie, but yeah, you get an A for your villain. Unlike John Malkovich, who plays the Emperor, who delivers every line like this. Yeah. And I don't know what he is doing.
Second, I thought they did Saphira actually pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
It was, the movie was made in the middle 2000s, so I was wondering how well is the CGI going to hold up, and it actually held up really well. Saphira looked real, her flying was real, she interacted with the characters, it all looked pretty good. And not only that, they actually got her personality really close to what it is in the book. She was probably my favorite character in the books, and to see her at least done well was at least a pretty nice surprise.
Yeah, she was fine. Not much else I can really add. The voice actor did a good job. It's funny because the first time I read Eragon was actually on a book on tape, audiobook, on a road trip, and the narrator decided to make Saphira talk like this. It was awful. I like this a lot better.
And finally, let's talk about what was probably the most enjoyable part of the movie.
Brom. Jeremy Irons is the one actor who's giving his all in this movie. He's actually trying to play a character. And you know what? He's great. Every frame with him is a good frame in my opinion. I mean, he's the funny drunk at some points, he's the wise mentor at some points, he's the badass warrior at some points, and he's awesome at all points. And of course, that man's voice is just beautiful.
So yeah, he was a pretty good Brom. Now, not as close to his book character as Saphira was, but he was easily the most enjoyable actor in the film and one of its few redeemable qualities.
Mm-hmm.
So, you gonna tell him?
Tell him what?
Are you going to tell them what happened when Brom died?
When Eragon goes to rescue the elven princess from an evil fortress, Brom sacrifices himself so they can get away. Brom used to be a dragon rider, and his dragon died a while ago, so as he's about to die, Saphira takes him up for one last ride up in the night skies. I turned to Zach while we're watching, and a single tear was rolling down my cheek.
You can't come back from that.
Oh, I can. Distraction puppy! So now to the overall plot. For me, it always felt really rushed. The scenes themselves are paced fine, but just the story itself moves at just way too fast a pace. I guess the filmmakers just weren't given enough time.
For me, personally, this is the absolute worst part of the movie, and where they just most destroy the book. The plot is completely butchered. It's practically a different story.
Do you want to do a everything they did wrong from the book speed round?
Okay, here we go. They never go to term. There is no Solumbum the Werecat. They never cross the desert. There is no geode. The Rezak are completely different in the movie than they are in the book, and they don't die. They never go to Dras Leona. Angela is in the wrong place. Eragon learns magic way too easy. The twins are missing. They make Murtaugh in the wrong place. The Varden are not in Farthendur because there was no Farthendur, and there are no dwarves. They took out an entire race, and all the characters with it.
You done?
For now, I'm done, I think.
You know, a lot of those things, yeah, kind of came back to me as you were saying them. This adaptation does suck.
In the end, a ton, and I mean a ton, of important characters, settings, and plots were just completely left out of the movie. It's practically a different thing. I mean, it makes you wonder, how are they going to do a sequel with so much of it missing?
I think they knew that wasn't going to happen. But I guess, you know, Percy Jackson's getting a sequel.
So, anything else?
The final battle had some cool-looking moments. I like the final duel between Eragon and Durza, but it is never explained how the hell the Varden defeat the Urgal army.
Actually, in the movie, there were men in the army that was attacking the Varden.
Right.
But in the book, it's explicitly stated, and as an important point, there are no men in the Urgal army.
You get one more, Zach. You get one more.
So, now are we done?
Baby Saphira is freaking cute. Eragon's sword is freaking cool. That is all.
In conclusion, while not the worst adaptation I've ever seen of something I've liked, it does come pretty close. They leave so much stuff out, it practically feels like a different thing, and I still wonder if they were even ever going to try to do the sequels.
Yeah, and as a film goer, this is pretty bad. Whether you've read the books or not, Eragon has a rushed, occasionally nonsensical plot.
Like, how did Brom's horse keep up with Saphira when Saphira clearly states that a horse could never outrun her?
Yes, thank you, Zach. Incredibly rushed, occasionally nonsensical plot, terribly bland characters.
Except for a few.
Yes, Zach. Terribly bland characters, weak writing pretty much overall, and that's, pretty much all I need. However, I did enjoy watching it. It is one of those, enjoyably bad movies. But if you are going to see it, make sure you watch it with someone you can make fun of it with. Like that guy.
Or that guy. In the end, I give Eragon a 30 out of 100. Eragon doesn't really show a lack of effort, because they were clearly trying. It's more because of a lack of ability.
For me, Eragon gets a 39. I want to call it mediocre fantasy, but I think that's just because I enjoyed watching it. When I sit down and look at all the pros and cons, yeah, I can't call it mediocre.
Well, you know what? That was actually pretty fun. Maybe I can get in on your next review.
No.
Oh, come on. What's your next movie you're reviewing?
Silence of the Lambs.
Oh, sorry, I've never seen that.
And fly away, little starling. Fly, fly. Well, everyone, I hope you enjoyed this review. I personally did. I had a lot of fun doing it with Zach here. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm having an old friend for dinner. Zach, we made it through.